Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of my most loved fragrances with another very special guest. So today we have the fabulous Francesca Bianchi of Francesca Bianchi Perfumes. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for taking the time out to join me. So really excited to talk to you today. Francesca, I think I'm right in saying that you're over in Amsterdam. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm Italian, living in Amsterdam for a long while now, 10 years or more.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't speak Dutch. If
you don't speak Dutch?
Here you can very easily survive just with English. And even if you attempt to speak a little bit of Dutch, they will interrupt you saying, no, you can speak English with me. So
yes, I think Dutch is a notoriously difficult language, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, every language is difficult, depending from which language you come from. So
very true. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, most of them do speak very good English over there. Okay, fantastic. And how, just very briefly, how is everything with the situation over there at the moment? Is life somewhere near normal for you guys now?
Situation is pretty okay now. I mean, there are still problems, of course, but life is a little bit relaxed compared to other countries, and like Italy, for instance, where they have a lot of obligations more. And yeah, so you can go around with a mask and yeah, pretty much doing a lot of things.
Yeah, it's been nice to get back to some kind of normality for many of us around the world recently, although still things to worry about. But let's move on to the more enjoyable subject of the perfume. So, yeah, as many viewers will know, but some may not, you are, of course, a perfumer with your own brand, Francesca Bianchi, and you've recently branched out into you've been doing some things for other companies too. So we're going to find out about your fragrances that you really cherish in a moment. But as I always tell viewers, it's a little bit of a mini "This Is Your Life," and we touch on all aspects of what's going on with you. So we're going to go right with the most recent development first, because you've just very kindly sent me a sample of your new one, which has the rather wonderful name of Divine Perversion. This is your new fragrance, and this is for the brand Hedonic, and I'm smelling it now. Can you tell us a bit about that one?
Yeah, and this is a little bit with the fingerprints of mine. This is the bottle, and yeah, the name makes me smile every time because it's really pompous and you know, sometimes even a little bit ironic in a way, because it's so big, Divine Perversion, that makes me laugh. And yeah, this that's the new brand called Hedonic. So the name already makes you think about the hedonismus, of course, and this is the logo, the monogram, actually. So if you see, you have some keys. So it's a little bit inspired to fetishism and something that you do like in your private life. But the main goal of this is fun and pleasure. So inside this brand, you have not just the perfume. So we have one perfume, the first perfume, Divine Perversion, but also leather accessories. So I don't know if you have seen the leather accessories a little bit around. I don't. Okay, no. I have a split here. So this is this kind of leather accessory. So if you see, it's
yes,
see very well, because the paper is not shiny. So this kind of thing.
I'll put a couple of images up on the screen as well. But show us, yes, please. Yeah,
I will send you the high res of this fantastic photo campaign that we did with this splendid model. So this is a little bit it. The idea was to create a brand for the leather accessories, and of course I wanted to enrich the brand with perfume. And so the perfume is the first. Next year I'm working already on 2 fragrances for next year, and on more accessories in leather. So this is it. And leather, because of the leather accessories, leather also in perfume is a kind of keynotes. So it's not by randomly in Divine Perversion you find leather for a reason. I mean,
yes,
and it will be a recurring note also in the forthcoming releases.
It makes perfect sense. So just to be clear, then, that you're actually, is this your brand as well, then, Hedonic?
Yeah. It's completely mine.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
Forgive
not
me
working
because
for other people or like the store here. It's completely like the leather accessories are my creations.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Right. Okay. So I did all I did was I researched the Francesca Bianchi, but I got the new one, and I thought maybe you just made the perfume for this brand, but you're actually going into the world of leather goods. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And something with a rich history in Italy, of course. So will they be? Is that where they'll be made, or?
Oh, exactly. No, that makes also perfect sense what you said, because I come from Florence, which is one of the most important district of a leather good, luxury leather good production. And like my producer, of whom I cannot say the name, is a major supplier for Celine, Fendi, and this kind of brand. So this is why I relied with a lot of trust on this supplier, because he knows like what's the top level also of finishing, you know, because it's not just the design. Sometimes it's also how you finish the product that makes the difference between a cheap thing and a luxury thing, and not only the quality of material, which is of course important, but also the finishing, the details. So I designed them, I developed them, and then I sent the prototype to them, and so they did the modeling with their CAD program and the production. So this time I'm not in charge of production because it's too much. I can't do everything. Sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, that sounds really, really good. Well, congratulations to you, and I hope it's going to be a big success. So I'll put the link in the description, not only to the Francesca Bianchi website, but of course to Hedonic. And I've got to be honest, I really, really like this one. I was very struck by it because I smelled it first without looking at the notes, and I immediately picked up on a lovely iris note. And I really love iris in fragrances, and you know, whether it's men's or women's, I think men can really wear and enjoy iris. And then I picked up on a sweetness and something of a trademark, subtle, raunchy, sexy undertone. I think would that be a reasonable description? And how would you describe the smell of this one?
I think it's a consistent and current description. And to me, what I smell immediately is leather. To me, leather is very prominent. But it's a vertical note, and the opening. But you know, like for me, I am conditioned by the fact that I know the formula. So it's like my vision is also like, to me, I immediately get the pink pepper and the raspberry. So that part, that sweetness, which is not overwhelming because it's counterbalanced by the pink pepper, in my opinion. Then the rose and caramel. So you might pick caramel or not. There are people who pick it a lot, other people who just doesn't get it, and a lot of notes in the base, including an ambery base and leather and a lot of leather. So, but to me, like the idea here is like the game between leather and raspberry. So something very not BDSM, but I would say like you know, a bit fetish, hard rock, like leather on one side, and raspberry, which is very naughty, is very much used also in mainstream designer fragrance. So it's something like you know, unsophisticated, or how can I say, girly thing.
Yes.
To contrast with you know, the darker vibe of the leather. You know, I like to play with contrast, you know, and this is just another contrast.
Well, yes, and the name itself is a contrast of ideas as well. I like it. Okay, well, as I'm English, we're very uncomfortable around the subject of sex, so I'll have to move quickly on before I begin to blush. But I really like this one, and I honestly, I'm very intrigued to try it more. I may have to pick up a bottle, because I think I review a lot of old-fashioned, gentlemanly fragrances. But I do appreciate many other styles of thing, and it's nice to have something unique and different. with so many millions of releases out there nowadays, and so many of them are not so exciting. But I really think this one is so, well, really great. Let's move on to the more general stuff about you then. So obviously we know now that you are a perfumer and you're originally from Italy, but just wanted to know a little bit more about you. So just if you could tell us a little bit about where you sort of grew up and how life started out, and then just move on to how you got more than averagely interested in perfumes, if you don't mind.
Yes. So I was born and raised in the countryside of Florence. So I'm just thinking the long version of the short version. I'll try to keep it short. Okay. So let's say that perfume has always been a big interest for me since I was a little one. So like my first perfume was Paris Yves Saint Laurent when I was 11, and then Dior, Poison Dior, and then when I was 14, and then I really started to collect when I had my pocket money, little by little. And so you might also know that I'm a perfume collector. So now I had a really a big struggle to pick 5 perfumes. I mean, I have a huge collection, and I also have a lot of fragrances that I love, which are not necessarily related to what I create. So you'll be surprised to discover which are my top 5. Anyhow, let's so basically I was someone who was had an artistic nature. When I was a child, I liked to draw a lot, so I was always drawing and painting, and then let's make it short, I like music also, play piano, play guitar, and then I studied history of art, and history of art degree, I started to work in publishing. So I sum up a lot of stuff. And then when I was 28, because at that point I had already not a huge collection, but you know, an interesting collection for someone of that age. And someone gave me a book on natural perfumery. And at that time, to me, being a perfumer was not even I mean, I didn't even know they existed in a way, you know, like, like now I'm 46, so it was almost 20 years ago, which means, you know, like 20 years ago, I don't think Fragrantica was there. And we didn't have, generally speaking, like lots of knowledge on perfumers, you know, like we have now. Now the name of perfumers are much more disclosed, but it's more a recent thing, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
And anyhow, I was not informed at all. So most probably people who were knowledgeable at the time, they knew more, of course, but I didn't even know that there could have been a profession. And so, well, I started to experiment on my own, but just, you know, as a hobby, I also experimented on skincare, which is another passion of mine. And then, well, what happened at a certain point of my life, I decided to go deeper on the topic, to access to professional materials, to buy and read and study professional books, and then you know, specific private situation of my life, like the fact that I had to get pregnant and I had to stop with my previous job, gave me the ease and the time to focus on some specific fragrances, and this is how I launched the first 3 fragrances.
Brilliant.
If this makes sense, I mean,
that was a very good summary in a brief amount of. But yeah, that was very good brief summary, but it makes perfect sense. And yeah, well, I'd be very interested to hear more about the history of art degree and things, but I guess we'll stick mainly to the fragrance, I guess, for this particular video. Yeah. So that all sounds great. So just to let the viewers know, what year did you launch the first 3 Francesca Bianchi perfumes then?
It was end of 2016. 2016, no, sorry. And 2016, which is in the same months I was getting pregnant. So it all started when I had another big commitment. The first few years, of course, they went pretty slow, but still with a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah, Well, you've done fantastically. Well, I'm going to talk about one of the fragrances of yours that I really love in a minute, but
Oh,
we'll
yes,
move on. Yes, I really enjoy Etruscan water, but we'll
I
come back to
know.
that one. It's brilliant. So let's get into the 5 fragrances then, but we'll come back to a bit more about you as we go. So any order you like, hit me with the first one, please.
Okay, so I have very painfully, with like an excruciating pain, I would say,
Yes.
selected 5. So let's start from my all-time favorite, which is Timbuktu L'Artisan Parfumé.
Yes.
So this is all-time because when I was 28, so that very moment, a very particular moment in my life, when I started also to be interested in like alchemy, and also in I discovered like alternative perfumery or niche perfumery or whatever. I didn't know it existed, and then I also started my composition. I bought this one, and I think this is the 3rd bottle that I have. And I think it's very unusual for me to like this because now, I mean, at that time, I didn't care about masculinity or femininity. Nowadays, because I'm more aware of questions of customers, I would say this is a little bit more masculine. And it's crazy, no? Like now, I'm in the business, I'm like obliged to think a little bit more because people is asking me. But at the time, I was 28, so I was young, I was new to niche, and I was thinking this was fantastic, a fantastic fit. But I still enjoy it a lot. Do you know
Yeah, I don't own a bottle, and it's been a while since I tried it actually, so I won't pretend to have a great knowledge of it. But I know it's got a fantastic reputation. Lots of people really love it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Bertrand Duchefort, that one?
Yeah. Which
yeah.
is also one of my favorite notes, Duchefort. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What's the note that you really like? Oh, your note. Oh, nose. Sorry, I thought you said note. Sorry. Yeah, just could you just briefly describe the smell of Timbuktu?
Yeah, the smell is very particular because it's kind of woody, ambery with vetiver. I think vetiver is an important note and some spices. But I think what I like about it is the very special combination of these notes. So how can I say? Sometimes you like a fragrance because of some notes that you just pick, and sometimes you like a fragrance because of the new particular, new balance, new odor that those combination can make. So I would say that you get, I read also the mango is there. I don't know, but you have some kind of fruity sweetness. But as I said, I wouldn't say I like it because of this or that note. I like it because of this special kind of dry, woody, but still a very pleasing and sweet combination.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's got that brand has a really good reputation, and
Yes,
I think my personal favorite, which I still actually don't have a bottle, is Traversée du Bosphore.
Oh, I have,
which is the Turkish delight one. Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. And from this brand, which is one of my most populated, is I also I have that one. I have Drôle de Rose, which is more simple but maybe more feminine, and Zonga, which I really love, but I had to select this because this is like old time, whereas Zonga is more like some days yes, some days no.
Yeah.
and also Zing, but I'm not wearing Zing a lot because it's a little bit daring, and look who's talking about daring.
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, great brand actually. And these interviews are bad for me because I always end up going and spending money afterwards because somebody always tells me something I need to go and buy.
I'm sorry, but I think L'Artisan is one of those brands that are really worth discovering and really worth knowing more.
It's a definite no BS niche brand because there are some more hyped up famous ones that are maybe more talked about, but some of these just slightly for the more in the know people brands. Sometimes that's where the most fun can be found, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. I know that by if I'm not wrong, one of the best seller is like a Muscamore, which is a musk, and more is the black, not the blackberry, is a berry like another blackberry, but not the blackberry.
Okay, yeah.
Like the brother of the raspberry.
Okay, yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Black currant.
Black currant.
Maybe, or black.
No, the
blackberry. Okay, but anyway, yeah, a dark.
You know what we mean. So the mûr, the muscamure, which is one of the best seller I heard, and to me it's like it's pleasant, but like not really anything memorable, I would say.
Okay.
So you know, you never really know. I mean, bestseller doesn't really say a lot.
No, it's not always the one that you will enjoy most from a brand. Okay, that was a superb first choice. I'm going to move on to number 2 next, please.
Next is another almost all-time, I would say, which is Diptyque L'Ombre dans l'eau. And it's almost all time because it's a long time that I love this one. I think I discovered this one when I started with my journey, but I didn't have the guts to buy it because I find it a bit... I know that's my stupid take. I mean, it's very personal. It has something that reminds me of sweat, of human sweat, in a nice way, of course. But it has some kind of alluring and cheekiness, although you would describe it as a rose with a berry facet and a peppery thing, and very sweet. But to me, this also took me to study. Took me to study the cassis, and you know cassis. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like but that is blackcurrant, I think, isn't it?
Blackcurrant. See, I was searching in my bottles because sometimes I have it written in French and English. Blackcurrant. Blackcurrant is a fantastic material, and this perfume gave me a lot of inspiration. And I have used the blackcurrant actually in the Divine Perversion, if I'm not wrong. Yes. Although this is much sweeter, of course. Like you can't really compare it. Do you know L'Ombre dans l'eau?
No, I don't. I know a few Diptyque ones. Is it the one that smells of fig, Philosicus or something? Yes. And I like a couple of the fresh ones, like Volutes. I really like.
Oh, Volutes! That's another one that I have. I really love. Yes.
I never smelled that one. So yeah, no, really good. There another. You see again, you've picked another really interesting, good brand. I think they start out with candles first, and then they went into fragrance.
They started in the 60s with candles, and only I think maybe in the 80s or early or later they started with perfumes. I'm not really sure about the timing, but yeah, it's true. They started with candles. I recommend you to try this one. Of course, they have many iconic ones that you should know. Like they also have a tuberose one, which is iconic, Olena or something, and others like Vetiverio is a good one for Vetiver. But this one to me is really special. So I'm just give a sniff if you have
I need to try it. I must try that one. A friend of mine really likes to wear Tam Dao a lot by them. So they've got some good ones for sure. Okay, now it's interesting because you mentioned their history there, and they go back to the 60s. And I would never have asked you your age, but I'm 44, so we're similar generation.
You look younger.
No, I don't. Stop it. But we both grew up in a similar era, so we remember the 80s and probably the 90s were our.
And those hairstyle, I know.
Well, I wish I could have any kind of hairstyle now, but we remember those good old days, and of course back then there was no big internet scene of fragrances and all that kind of thing. So that's really only happened. Well, I mean, really, it's exploded in the last 10 years. The online community, which of course didn't exist in the 1990s or early 2000s, has exploded, and we're in very different sort of parts of that world, probably because you're a serious perfumer, and I'm a YouTuber where we're quite silly on here. Do you ever sort of how much of the online fragrance community do you take part in and consume? Are you active in the Facebook groups, and do you ever watch YouTube videos, and what do you make of it?
Look, how can I say? Like, yeah, from time to time I watch YouTube videos. I try to like, there are a lot now, and I try to keep up with the reviews of my perfumes, because I like to give my feedback or like thank. So, and that's already a part of the job that takes. And then of course I just Google or like search in YouTube if there's some fragrance that I want to buy or that I'm curious. Although I have to say that I also want to trust my nose, like, but I want to say that it's important that you have your own judgment on things, but then when you're undecided, it's also interesting to see what other people see in that perfume, because sometimes there are facets in a perfume that you just don't think about. And then when someone is underlining those, then you find them out, and oh, that's interesting, or maybe, oh no, this is not what I wanted, so it's always good to have to be in a community and share opinions, because I think it's good for a full understanding of a fragrance. And yes, I belong to many Facebook groups. I like to participate to some to chats. I don't have a lot of time recently to participate a little bit more as a moderator or administrator. I really can't. I sometimes have some live stream in groups, but like, I think it's really crucial for nowadays, if you are in fragrances, belong to some of these groups, because you just know new things, and yeah, it's like having friends multiplied.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's good and bad to it, because sometimes there's almost too much information. But yeah, it's great fun to have the community. And I'm going to try and tempt you, as I've mentioned, to come on to one of our live shows on a Friday. I know it's very late for you there, and there's no pressure, but I wanted to sort of drag you into the lowest, darkest corner of the online fragrance community, where it's completely beneath you. But I think it would be we try and have some high class guests as well as some rather more cheeky ones, I think, on the channel. So I'm going to try and work on that, but I won't put you on pressure on air now. But
the only pressure for me is like the time, because so if I will join, I have decided I will go out for a drink with friends, and then it's your problem.
That's exactly what we want. That's perfect. Okay, we'll see if we can make that happen. Okay, so you've given us 2 brilliant choices. What's number 3, please?
The 3. So I have this, and this. So Chinatown Bon Amère.
Okay.
You know this one?
No, but I just always raise an eyebrow when I see their bottles, because they're so funny. So please tell us.
I think, okay, maybe this, if we are allowed to use categories, which nowadays people do not want to use categories, but I think it's a little bit more feminine rather than masculine.
Yes.
So this one is very rich. It's considered a chypre, but it's much sweeter than a regular chypre, with that kind of typical contrast between the Okomos and Labdanum and the bergamot thing. So it has the structure, but it's much more opulent and cheerful, and maybe less elegant and more, like I don't know, rich. And it's fruity. I get the tuberose. To me, I studied this when I wanted to work when I worked on Tiger. So you know, like all perfumes for me are a reason of inspiration. So it's fruity, it's flowery, a bit narcotic. Very comforting in the end. It's kind of edible in a way, meaning it's not gourmand, but it reminds you of something nice and comforting. Yeah, I don't find it extremely sexy or daring. It's just it's very overwhelming, I would say. So it's one spray goes a long way, and it's really full. It's really thick, although it's no, the Parfum, I think. Oh, the Parfum, yeah. And yeah, I really like the combination. I mean, I just told you the notes just for your info, but to be honest, I don't really care about the notes. I care about this final balance of smell, which is a very particular, recognizable. That's the Chinatown. That's this thing, this particular thing. It's exactly like Timbuktu. It's that one. It's not a combination of notes. It's a new thing. It's a different thing. Yeah.
I think that's it. Sometimes it's more important when you talk about the fragrances to talk about the overall effect rather than just to list through that I smell the tuberose and then the vetiver and the da. But you get a better impression when you just describe it overall. And do you think it is? What about it is reminiscent of Chinatown? Is it appropriate, the name?
Reminiscent? No,
is it? Does it smell like Chinatown should smell?
To be honest, no. I mean, Chinatown. If Chinatown, and from the point of view of Bond Number 9, is one neighborhood of New York, so I just don't get the connection with that Chinatown. If you tell me, and also like the suggestion from the peach blossom, whatever, so a Chinese or even more Japanese. No, maybe not Japanese, but maybe Chinese scenario in the nature in spring. Yes, I would say yes. But, you know, in my completely hypothetical reconstruction of what China is, I've never been to China. So I've been to Chinatown, and I can say I have no clue why this is called Chinatown.
No, okay. But fair enough. No, but the packaging looks a little, with the flowers look a little bit like they might be from that part of the world. Okay, well, Bond Number 9, really interesting house. I love their distinctive bottle designs, and they're sort of a love or hate for most people. But I think having a couple on the shelf looks quite good in a collection. Yeah. So I recommend.
I have some Bond Number 9 in my collection.
They do look good on the shelf, I think. So I'm going to have to check out a couple more of theirs, and definitely one worth checking out. So we've had 3. We'll go into number 4 next, then, please.
Yes, here you have. This is maybe you don't know this this brand. I mean, you know for sure HIRAM GREEN, which is a Dutch, a Canadian guy who moved to the Netherlands. And I think 10 or 8 years ago, he founded his brand HIRAM GREEN with his own name. He's also a friend of mine, but I'm not saying this because he's a friend of mine. Probably he's a friend of mine because I have a lot of, I love him as a person and as a perfumer, and I really love all his line. His composition style is very particular. He's an independent perfumer, and this one, it's a woody patchouli, but very vanillic. It's, you know, now that I have smelled, that I have sprayed, I don't say mainstream brands, but like more established or like, big brands of the niche. These looks, you really get the artisanal touch, the thickness. It's a different way of working. It's a different sensitivity. Different. I forgot to say this is all natural perfumery.
All right.
Not that I am particularly in natural, but I can tell he works just a natural 100%. And it's extremely complex to work only on naturals because you know you have in your shelf a lot of synthetics, you can mix them up. You can really have a lot of effects. Whereas if you use only natural, the palette is very, very limited.
Yeah.
So bravo to him, because this is one of my favorite. Probably it's a simple composition. It's patchouli, vanilla. It has some kind of greenness to it. It's very well done. I hope you will have a chance to smell this one.
That sounds good. So it's HIRAM Green, and could you just remind us of the name of the fragrance again, please?
This is Arbole. Arbole is, I think that it's a name of a Pessoa poem, talking about living in the fresh air and outside. So it's it should bring you to, you know, freshness, greenness, and open air, something like that. But
yeah,
you know, that's a very good one that I recommend you. If I have to send you some stuff, I'll be sure to send you all of these.
I'll try. I'm going to link them in the description. You see, the great thing about these videos where I interview people like you is that so often on our channels we tend to mention the same fragrances over and over again. So, you know, already we've got 4 that I don't think I've really ever had mentioned on my channel. So it's really good that the viewers get to hear about new things, and that I think they appreciate that a lot. So do I. So yeah, I think that's a new brand that I haven't really looked into at all. So thank you for exposing us to some new thoughts here. Now, go ahead. What's next, please?
I have the 5th. Sorry.
Yes. No, go.
5th, I'm sure you know this brand because it's an English brand of another friend of mine. Again, he's a friend of mine because I estimate him a lot as a perfume. He's not a perfumer. He's a brand owner. Yeah. And you know Gallivant? Yes. Okay. So I really love the many of his fragrances. In particular, I love Istanbul, which is a super. It's by Karine Chevalier, if I'm not wrong. So very good perfumer. He's the owner of a small brand. Still, he's using a very renowned perfumer, I would say. And this one is extremely rich. It brings you really to all neighborhood of Istanbul, and the spices and animalic notes and leather. It's very, very opulent, I would say. So I think, looking back to my selection, I have picked all the rich and opulent fragrances. Maybe Timbuktu might be the lightest one. I mean, you know, that kind of transparent style, not thick, but still I find it very rich. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like the theme of the brand with the different city name for each one. I really like Bukhara. I have that one as a very nice.
He sent me a sample of that. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that one. Yeah. And I like just some of the ideas and the pictures that I see on the Instagram. There's one called Berlin, and he's got sort of pictures of, you know, from life in Berlin when the Berlin Wall was up in the 70s, and they're all very evocative kind of ideas. And I like the idea that he takes you on a little journey there. I met him once at an event. So really, really nice guy. Great brand. And yeah, it's great for you to highlight some of these ones that perhaps some of the viewers don't hear about as much. So really nice choice. Thank you. So we've had 5. I know you've cheated and you've got some couple of extra ones, but I'm just gonna talk about my favorite from your brand because I think it's really, really good. And so this is one that I bought this one myself. Etruscan water. So this is going back a few years. Yes. This is so good. I must say, this is absolutely phenomenal. Very different to the other styles that you've talked about on the fragrance in your choices. And this one is a excuse me. Oh, it's beautiful. It's fresh. It's got a sort of fresh citrus element, and then there's a sort of jasmine hedione thing, just faintly reminiscent of perhaps vintage Dior Eau Sauvage in my mind, faintly. And then there is a sort of undertone of real sexy, musky undertones. A little bit, just a hint of a reminiscence of the glory days of the 80s and 70s perfumes, but of course. You must have had to use very different methods to achieve that because some of the ingredients.
Right, because at that time I had a mini of a vintage Diorella, so I didn't have the Eau Sauvage, but you know that Rudnitska worked at the same time on both, and they say everybody says that the formula is really similar.
Yes, yeah,
So
I heard
haven't smelled the vintage Eau Sauvage, but I know from books that they share the same DNA. So,
yeah.
and I really worked on picking up that indolic jasmine that you can find it in Etruscan water, and yeah, I picked some notes from that. Of course, rendering in my own style, of course.
Oh, very much so. Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of my top recommendations, particularly if viewers of my channel like a lot of the same things that I often enjoy, which I sometimes enjoy the old school, you know, masculine sense of the 70s and 80s a lot. And it's not just one of those, but it has some of the best things you might like about those. And as ever, a hint of the sort of modern artisanal perfumery in there. So yeah, really. And by the way, guys, it's extract de parfum, isn't it? And
yes.
it's potent. It lasts it really is strong stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can tell, well, the thick, rich color of the juice sort of gives you a clue.
Yes.
It almost looks like an old vintage bottle that's turned color for 50 years, but that's actually how it naturally looks. So it gives you an idea of how potent it is. Highly recommended. Okay, yeah. I think you've got a couple of wild card fragrances to go. So what's next?
No, I have one. You said to select one of mine from my collection. So I didn't mention because I wanted to have a full 5 that were not on my from my own collection, and also I have an extra one from. I don't know who is the perfumer of this one. You might have seen this one. It's Yves Saint Laurent Splendid Wood.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not really the most original because it's still in this trend of, you know, Middle East potent wood based, but I really like the very combination of it. Is more sophisticated, doesn't really kill you or like make you cough. Sometimes you had some wood based fragrance that are really annoying. And that's also the reason why I'm not working on any wood centered fragrance, because I'm so annoyed, and it should be my style. I mean, I love anything, Middle East, and also the thickness of my composition. They come from that mentality, I prefer to use alcohol instead of oil, just because alcohol allow a bigger diffusion. Otherwise, I really would make a tar in oil-based. Anyhow, getting to this one, I find it very elegant and sophisticated, and you have wood accord. I don't think there's a real wood, and cypriol is another nice wood that is used very much when you have to create an wood accord, cardamom and incense. But I think there's much more. And I don't know who's the perfumer is. In Fragrantica, they don't mention it.
Right, yeah. I really like some of those ones that were in that line from YSL. Yes, I think they may have they discontinued some of those or all of them now?
I fear so. I think they discontinued. They had this other leather something.
Yeah, I liked that. It was a bit like Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford, but I actually liked the YSL one more. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, I'll keep an eye on it on eBay.
Yeah, but I think they may have stopped making them, which is a real shame. But they were a good line there. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, it was good to have a slightly more mainstream pick there. So can you please, because I did insist that you include one from your own brand, as I do with all brand owners and perfumers. So which one have you selected?
I selected Sex and the Cineroli. And not maybe because it's my most loved. I would say that my favorite in terms of composition and creativity, I would say, is the Luxe Convolupté, the last one. But this one is the one that I enjoy wearing the most, because it fulfills many needs. It fulfills the need of comfort or easiness, of sexiness. It has a fresh opening. So in the end, it's the easiest thing to catch and spray, before going out, when you don't have the time to sit in front of your shelf or and to select which fragrance. So this one is like, okay, let's wear something, because you don't go outside without the perfume, of course. And this is either I use other things. I have a Maison Rebacci, like in my corridor, I have a lot of perfumes. So these are the lucky one who gets sprayed, because you go out and you shower yourself and you go out. So, but if I have to pick one of mine, I would pick this one for those reasons. So it's ambery, vanillic, and fresh at the same time.
Yes, it's really, I think I get the feeling from looking at social media that this is one that people really have received very well. There's a lot of fans of this one. I think it looks like it's, what is it, one of your biggest sellers, would you say?
It's a very good seller, but you will be surprised which is the best seller, which Sticky Fingers, which of course I love very much. But it's Sticky Fingers is not one of the most talked about, or like that you see so many reviews as Sex and the City Neroli, or even Etruscan Water, or I don't know. I haven't really studied or made some statistic about that, but I was surprised when very recently I just checked statistic from their website, and in the last year, Sticky Fingers was the best seller. And I don't know, maybe I feel it's the easiest of my line.
Sticky Fingers.
Sticky Fingers. I don't know if you have received a sample.
I tried it a while back. Yes, I think it was quite rich. It's not a fresh fragrance, is it? It's the opposite type of thing.
No, it's a patchouli. It's a patchouli based, but although it's not fresh, is absolutely not challenging, because you have patchouli, you have tobacco, leather, a bit of animalic, but not. Nothing, to roll your eyes, like the Lover's Tale, for instance. So in the end, not that it was my intention to make an easy catch, or but it's something that if you're like a very intense patchouli but without killing people around you, it's an easy one. So I think it's something, and it's very comforting and sexy, and you have iris. So it's this patchouli tobacco leather, but with a very smooth iris on it. So I call it rock chic. I
like it. Now, as you keep telling me the names, you're making me just think something that I want. So I'm thinking of the names of your perfumes. We've got Sex and the City Neroli, Divine Perversion, A Lover's Tale. I'm not sure. You'll have to explain Sticky Fingers. I guess that's just to do with food, I hope. But there's some quite provocative names there. So that's definitely a theme for you. Can you just give us a word on that, please?
I like to have a little bit of fun in general. So I like not to take myself seriously. Good. And I don't like people who takes themselves too seriously, because normally they are very boring. So but of course, I do things very seriously. So the names are fun, but the things until I am not convinced 100%, I don't release the formula. There has been years where I have released 4 fragrances, and real where I have released 1 fragrances. Because I was ready, and sometimes I was not ready. So for me, it's just having fun, and some kind of sexiness is in all the formula. So I think in the end, fun and sexy are in the names, but they also correspond and reflect also how the formula is. So they are, And Sticky Fingers, well, you have both the food reference, like you have to because in the icon that I draw, you have a woman lips licking her finger, because and the idea is like something so tempting that you have to lick your fingers. But at the same time, you remind maybe of a very famous album by Rolling Stones.
Of course, yes. That's
Thus, the patchouli, although it's not a 70s patchouli, it's a fractionated patchouli. and the tobacco and the leather, like you were in the backstage of a rock band concert,
Yes.
but with Bianca Jagger instead of Mick Jagger, probably because of the iris. So you have a little bit of refinement to it. You have definitely to smell it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Maybe I still have a sample. I think. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think what I like is there that you've got. You obviously it's very very serious perfumery, and that side of it is really really serious for you. But you're not too pompous in the names. And I always think right, going right back in the history of designer fragrances and the adverts, although they're all high class perfume art. Perfume should be a little bit tied up with the idea of seduction and fun and joie de vivre and this kind and enjoying life. So it's nice that you have that element in the names and some of the marketing that you use. I think that's really, really good.
Thank you. That's a big compliment.
Yes. And I will finish on a trivial note, if I may. But I did correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I dreamt this because I couldn't find the picture anymore. But you were at Pity Fragrance recently, the event, yes?
Absolutely.
Did I see a picture of you with Miguel Matos on a leash or something? Or did I dream this?
You dreamt. So you dreamt about. No, that was a funny moment. I didn't insist. I mean, I didn't even think. And it was him and Sanya, I think, another fragrance editor. And they just had fun. He seated and he just put this long belt as a leash, sorry.
Yes.
And then someone took pictures.
Brilliant. It did crack me up. Is that picture still out there? So is it still out there, the picture?
I have some pictures. So
okay, can you say if you don't mind, you don't have to. If you can send it to me, I'll put it in the video here now, and people can have a look at that.
Absolutely, yes. They are public. I mean, Miguel published it. I didn't want, of course, without his consent.
Yes,
he published that picture, and many other people reposted it. So, of course, I will send it to you.
Lovely. It's nice to know that even at the high end of fragrance, with a great perfumer like you and Miguel Matos, who's also a serious writer, people can still have good fun. I really like that. It's very important.
Love each other. I have a really big opinion of Miguel, and I think he likes my brand too. And yeah.
I really like him. He was on the show. He did the same thing we're doing now, and I've met him once or twice. He's a really lovely guy. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there very, very briefly, though, because you have the newest one from Francesca Bianchi, which you mentioned in passing. Just give us a very brief synopsis of that one and the name, please, and I'll put a little picture up on the screen of it.
Sorry, of which fragrance?
Your newest, you said your latest Francesca Bianchi one. You just give us...
okay, it's not handy here. Luxe Canvolupté. It's one of my favorite, the one I'm more proud of, let's say. It's so the name, the idea is to bring you somewhere nicer, far from the daily worries. This was released in June, last June, and I think I was still shocked about this last moment of our life when we have been all locked or we couldn't travel, and many people, I was lucky, I was not alone, but many people suffered from solitude and depression. So I thought it was the moment to come out with something which could bring relief and comfort, but especially bring you with your mind to somewhere far, to somewhere where you don't have the daily concern. And voluptuousness, which is in the name, is also because you have voluptuousness in a place where you have calmness of mind. Otherwise, there's no voluptuousness. If you are agitated, stressed, or with anxiety. There's nothing less sexy than anxiety, so
very true.
And also it's for me, it's very important because it's the first perfume where I have worked with galbanum. Galbanum is a very particular note. It's a very green one. I'll send you the sample if I haven't, because it's to me it's very unisex, and it has a sophisticated vibe because of the galbanum, because of some bittery facets, and at the same time, as a counterpart, you have some kind of exotic fruity vibe. But you have to smell it because it's very particular. As the other fragrance I was meaning is like it's something that even if you describe any fragrance, if you describe the notes, you just don't get it. But this one is like is the final combination of these notes. They create something very particular, and you really have to smell it.
Sounds like a perfect fragrance for the era that we're living in, to give us something more fun to think about. And I think hopefully fun times are coming as the situation improves. Guys, I really am grateful to Francesca. Please check out the links in the description, where I will link her own brand's website and the new brand, Hedonic, for not only divine perversion, but all your quality leather goods. And I hope that's going to go really well. And guys, I really do recommend these fragrances because, you know, if you're looking for something a bit different in the niche world, these are really strong, really highly concentrated. And just for the time being, not every other person you bump into in the street will be wearing it. So you are really going to stand out. So I really do recommend these guys. What a great guest you've been. Thank you so much, Francesca. I hope we can collaborate more.
Yes, that was a fantastic chat, and I'm getting ready to stay a little bit awake. You know, like normally someone who goes to sleep at 10, but don't say it around.
Yeah,
no,
if a lot of people do.
If I go around, I can handle it for some other hours.
I'm going to look forward to that. Okay, Francesca, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you ever so much, viewers. Goodbye. And well, remember, guys, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. And sometimes life may stink, but we can always smell good. Bye-bye.
Fantastic.